Come. Fix it in case. Fix it.
Other boys are going to come.
So what did we do last week? No.
So we discussed on Salah.
Congregation.
Okay.
Follow the Imam.
And if you can follow the, it's a big pillar to follow the Imam, because if you can follow the Imam, you can then follow Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam Allah's commands, because you're essentially entering into a state of Istislam. If you can enter a state of Istislam, you can then sort of compete. And if you can compete, you can, you'll be able to have that tranquility and competing deeds to attain that Iman. And then we talked about the competition between Sahaba, and then the Sahaba used to always compete, and it was about Sari'u ila maghfiratin. Firstly, you need to compete for the front rows, and if you compete for the front rows, then you can compete in the other acts, because Salah is the most important. Then we discussed the hadith of Umar competing in charity and brought half his wealth, and then only after Abu Bakr brought all his wealth, and he said, Abu Bakr is greater than me.
What else? Anything else?
We were talking about if you don't follow the Imam, like if you go ahead of him,
Yep. What happens?
your prayer is just declined.
What's the condition of it to be validated? How many movements in front of the Imam do you have to be? Alright, two, and when you go for the third one, as soon as you start to move to the third one, that's it, the prayer is invalid. What about if you're behind the Imam?
It's your
Delayed.
own. It's like your own, you're not praying with him.
Okay, so after two, and the Imam starts to move to the third, then that's it, your prayer is balted. You have to start all over again. Okay? Start all over again, because when you make the intention to pray, you say, I nawayt myself on the Maghrib ma'muman, or muqtadiyan, or ma'al imam, or jama'atan. So when you make the intention for praying in jama'ah, that's what you need to say. I make the intention to pray behind the Imam, or in congregation, or as a follower of the Imam. So that's the intention when you made the prayer. And if you go ahead to a fraction, or behind two and a fraction, you've lost that, so you've got to start the whole prayer all over again. Unless you know you're going to be you're going to be slowed down to two and a bit movements. So when you know that's the case, before you get two movements behind, you change your intention, say, Allah, my intention is to pray by myself now. So if you do that, al-ifrad it's called, that you say that I'm going to be an individual, then it's okay. But then you can't follow the Imam. Okay? You're on your own then. If you follow the Imam, again, your salat's batil, because you're following someone who's not on the same prayer as you in that sense. You haven't aqad, there's no connection or no bonding between your prayer and someone else's prayer. Okay, then if you decide to join the Imam, you've got to come back, stand up and make all those, it's a bit complex there, but don't worry about that. So once you've made your intention to be tied to the Imam, then you've got to remain tied to the Imam. Unless you make the intention to be on your own, then you can't follow. If he says Allahu Akbar, you've got to just not follow.
And then we moved on to the hadith that the forelock of one who bows and rises before the Imam is in the devil's hand.
There's another hadith that says, would you like your head to turn into the head of the donkey? The Prophet says that word, jahash. Use the word. And they're like, what do you mean, Ya Rasulullah? Like, whoever goes before the Imam, be warned that your head might turn into the head of a mule or a donkey. Anything else?
We talked about sort of attributing self-sufficiency to ourselves from our own heedlessness. So we mentioned sort of Kaf when the person said, I am better than this person, and then he associated his ego with the provider and the sustainer, and that's linked to that lack of submission. So if you are breaking off, then essentially that's on the path to submitting, to self-attributing, and doing the minor shirk.
And that's the dukkha, what's the word I'm looking the intricacy of it. You think that, it's just this and it's just that, it's just sunnah and it's just and it's just and it's just and it's just. What have you got left? Deen's gone. Internally and externally. It doesn't exist anymore. So it's these things that are reflections of the realities. These things, the reflections, our deeds, our ibadah to Allah. Because is anyone going to get into Jannah through their ibadah, through their worship? No. Doesn't matter if you pray 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Not going to get in through your worship. You're going to get in through the mercy of Allah. So in the end, even our deeds, they're makhluk. Our worship is a creation of Allah Azza wa Jal. Okay, so there's tawassul and all these things with the deeds and whatever it might be. But the point being is that it's a reflection of the reality. And the reality is the connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's manifested in prayer. In prayer. That's where it is. So each of you would have been asked from last week to consider your prayers and to think about it. And your jama'ah and praying in the first. For the women, it's not the first saf. Guess what? Where's the best saf for women? The very last one. So the sisters that are pushing to be at the front, we need that sound on the game show. Ow. Sorry, it's wrong. Doesn't work. And there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that misguided knowledge. That's why the Prophet said, Allahumma rizqna ilman yunfa. Beneficial knowledge. Not just knowledge. How many people that on the thing today there was a question, it was about this poor kid that washed up in the beach. As well. And like the commentary, and then some brother put a nice commentary. He said, look, when we don't follow what the Imam say and the ulama, what they don't say, we're going to get into scenarios. And then basically what it's talking about is taking responsibility for ourselves. Yeah, we know the West is involved and whoever's involved and the whole world's involved, but we can't change that. And whatever's going to happen is going to happen. What we can change is I can change myself. I can change myself. And so the comment was, along the lines of, if we listen to the ulama in Sham, in Syria, right, who are the most knowledgeable of their own affairs. I can't sit in Australia, Palestine, Syria, Saudi Arabia, whatever, and say, in Syria they should have done that. The ulama of Syria, said, look, yeah, we know, the government isn't the best and they're making things, but look, we don't just leave it. It's better as it is, diniyan, they said, is in terms of our deen, and it's better in terms of the way we live. And of course, they don't know, their government, blah, 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 they're sellouts, they're whatever. You don't agree with his opinion, you're entitled not to agree if you're a scholar. If you're a monkey, climb back in your cage, or back up the tree. What are you doing commenting on what the scholars say? If you prefer one scholar's comment or opinion over another, that's fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. But there's no need to talk about the other scholar who you don't agree with and say he's this and bring and cast aspersions upon that person's character or intentions or what are you talking about? It's a difference of opinion, akhi. It's a complex scenario. The one that we, sitting on the other side of the world, have very little understanding about. Very, very little understanding about. So the issue is that they said, leave it alone. And so one of the comments was, we have to take some responsibility because the ulama warned us. And so that's about the istislam. It's about saying, look, I think we should this and so-and-so thinks we should that, but the ulama have said that, just leave it alone. Leave it alone. But no, we can't because we know better. And that's, I'm not saying in particular the child's going to die when Allah has written for the child to die in whatever circumstances. It's not about that. That's not the issue. That's the end result of the causation that Allah decided to make. We're talking about us and our ittiba' and our istislam. That if we can't if we can't bow our heads, that's the word khada'. That's the meaning of it in English. If we can't bow our heads to the rulings of the scholars, yahi, close the book, take off your hat, shave your beard, and just go party. It's alright, go, do whatever you want to do. Don't worry about this deen. Don't worry about wearing hijab. If you can't do that, that's the most basic element. The most basic element. If you can't do that, what are we doing? What are we doing? It's like you play on the footy team, the coach tells you to run, you kick. It's like you got a personal trainer, says don't eat wheat, every day you're eating pasta. The doctor says don't smoke, the person doesn't make any sense. No problem. You prefer another scholars? Beautiful. So I disagree because they're government scholars, they're sellouts, and the worse words than that. Munafir,
I saw that.
kafir, ya akhi, شو بدك فيه انت? بدك فيه? You're not even there to make the decision. You weren't in Syria. And guess what? The scholars that are commenting against the Syrian scholars, most of them aren't in Syria either. And you never know what scenario anyone's in. No one knows the situation of another. I spoke to one of the Syrian scholars who spoke about one of the muftis. They said, look, if you don't, the other ones ran away, and he was good, and he said, oh, don't worry, your family's here, your family's all gone. You put yourself in, and that's the other thing. It's great to talk about philosophical, this may on, put yourself in the situation. Put yourself in the situation. You're responsible for whatever. They say we're going to get your family. And that, not just in Syria, they get your family wherever they want to get them. It's the nature of the current situation. So this Islam is a major factor in our deen. And it comes up over and over and over and over and over again. Because it's the daily, it's whether it's we know the Salat al-Jama'ah is at 7:30 in the masjid. It's I'm at home, I'm watching whatever I'm watching, I'm doing whatever I'm doing. It's should I go or should I not go? It's Islam. You're not working, you haven't got another commitment, someone's not sick, it's not raining, whatever. What's your excuse? That's the Islam. My mum's doing the dishes. And I know that anyone like doing the dishes. Have you ever met anyone in your life that likes doing dishes? I haven't yet to meet anyone like that. So it doesn't, do you need a hand? Just give a hand. But no, it's Islam. وَقَالَ رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Allah has decreed not to worship anyone but Him and to be awesome towards your parents. Oh, excellent. But we have to use that with awesome. So, just help. No. Oh, I've been had a hard day. Well, your mum hasn't had a hard day. Wife hasn't had a hard day, as the case may be. Of course she's had a hard day. Everyone has a hard day. Life's hard. Okay, so that's the Islam. It always comes up. Dad, I want to go here. Oh, well, look, I think this for that reason and this reason you shouldn't. Oh, but Dad, And we gave you the reasoning even. Is it lucky? We said, law. That law. What's here? No. There's no explaining. At least he's lucky, this generation of parents, they explain to you why. Because of this and because of that and whatever else. That's not a good thing to know the feeling of. Alright, like it's not good to say to your kids always lie. It's from the prophetic tradition. If there's no reason to say no, then you should say yes. Because it makes a kid it makes a person complex. Makes a person, they become tightly strung. Is that what it is? Highly strung. They end up becoming highly strung because everything's no, and the kid gets scared. Why is everything no? It's a scary world we live in. Don't do this and don't do that. All right. So here we're talking about, but it relates to all facets of our life pretty much. Istislam, and it's manifested in our prayers.
What's the word of the system?
Salama. Salama is what? To be saved and to be at peace. To be saved, basically. So the more you do it, the more the nafs will get destroyed. The more it's hard. But you can do it for a bit, then something comes like, oh man, I don't want to do that. I want to eat that last piece of pie. I want to have that last laham mishwa. I want last kebab skewer. We all want to, because we live in a world like remember last week we talked about, has any of us slept hungry, cold? We haven't. Alhamdulillah, we live a blessed life. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. No, man. I can't remember which one of the Sahaba said that if poverty was a person, I would have slayed it. I would have chopped it with a sword. Poverty is bad. Look what's happening. Look what's happening in poverty. Not even worry about these people. They got half a chance. People can't even drink water. There's plenty of water in Syria and Lebanon. People that asked on the commercial came on, they're pouring a cup and it's just brown and it's filled with stuff. It's in Africa. People can't even drink water. Don't know about anything else. Or when the petrol runs out, well, the solar power will work. It's okay. There's an alternative. But what is an alternative for water? Death. That's it. 3-4 days, you can't do nothing. It's over. Or Bear Grylls, he might try and drink his own urine or something. But other than us normal human beings, we can't fall into that. We're going to die. And that's only going to last for a little while anyway. Right? So that's the world we live in. That's the reality of the world we live in. So we have to understand that reality and understand our deen enough to apply the deen to the reality of the world we live in, which is what Imam al-Haddad is trying to teach us. إنما نتعلم والتعليم والتذكر والتذكير والنفع والانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والدعاء إلى الهدى والضلالة على الخير والحث والتمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسول الله ابتغاء مرضات الله وقربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى. الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا يوافي نعمه ويكافئ مزيدا والصلاة والسلام على خير الأنام وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a benefactor of favours and bounties, and we ask our Lord Most High to send copious and unlimited and eternal blessings and salutations upon our beloved Prophet Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa. And we should be crying. You know, if we're not deeply distraught and distressed by the things that are going on, particularly, you know, recently, it doesn't matter who's at fault in that regard. It does, but in that regard, in other words, the way we feel about it, it's not about apportioning blame. It's about taking responsibility as a member of the, what is it, we're up to 7 billion, 8 billion?
It's family.
No, the land of global family, all the sons and daughters of Adam and Eve, of Adam and Eve. So we have to feel somewhere in our hearts something. If we're not, then we're not part of the ummah. That's what he said, alayhi salatu wasalam. But you know, the ummah's like a body. If finger gets pricked in the head, it starts to hurt. And so if we're not feeling that, and if it's not affecting us, not just that, oh yeah, I'll post something about it and I'll forget about it. If it's not, you know, if we don't at least give up one morsel of food or 1 minute of sleep or one something, if we don't give up something in our lives as a sacrifice and as a show to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that yes, I'm indeed affected, then where's our humanity? You know, where's the reality of our deen? Which is what Islam is about. It's the perfection of one's humanity. That's what Islam is about. That's the ultimate definition, if you like. No.
Just in the previous class, we used to talk about, or we talked about how Prophet ﷺ made dua 3 times for the people in the first line for forgiveness, and in the second line only once. How did he do that? What was the manner that he did that in?
After the prayers, he made dua for people. Like there's the other one when the Hajj is coming up. So the people that the Prophet said, you know, shave your head, and he said, "Rahimallahu al-muhalliqun" once. And they said, "Ya Rasulullah, what about the muqassarun, those who just trim their hair?" And he said, "Rahimallahu al-muhalliqun." And again they said, "What about the people that trim their hair?" He said again, the third time, those who shave their head. And he said, "And those included." So it kind of comes like that. And it's a haf. A haf means it's an encouragement. He's trying to encourage us, alayhi salatu wasalam. And I for myself, you know, like you can notice it. When you go and pray in the first, after reading this, and we have to bring it into our lives, do we not? You know, go a little bit early, and subhanAllah, everyone always comes late. You don't have to go much early. It's only like 4 or 5 minutes extra. So like when you go to the Muslim lands, people are there like half an hour before, waiting in the first row. You go and you feel the difference. You feel the difference in your prayer. You actually, because the anwar comes to the front and it gets dissipated towards the back. The rahamat, whatever Allah sends, the al-Haddad, whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends. And when you're behind that Imam, you feel it straight away. You feel enveloped in something really special, alhamdulillah. You feel totally into the prayer. Of course, the rahamat, and that's part of the Prophet's dua, alayhi salatu wasalam. So that's, you know, he pronounced that, he said it out loud.
So was it something constant that he did, or was it something that it was?
He did it, but I don't know about how constant it was. But okay. Some things it's just mentioned without any differentiation of how often it came up. It's still the point being taken. The point taken from it is that he said it first, alayhi salatu wasalam, and that there's something behind it, and that we should strive to be, particularly the brothers, should strive to be in the first part of the first line. So we got up to, it says, وَحْذَرْ أَنْ تَتَأَخَّرْ قال المؤلف رحمه الله رضي الله عنه وعنكم نفعنا به وبكم. It says واحذر أن تتأخر عنه مع إمكان التقدم إليه. You want to read, Sam?
Yeah, some people.
Be careful of something.
Beware of staying back.
Be wary of.
Beware of staying back.
Yeah, beware of staying back.
Beware of staying back when it is possible to advance. For he has said, many blessings and peace be upon him. Some people will persist in staying back, that is, from the first row, until God will hold them back. And God and his angels bless the foremost row.
Alright. So, what he's saying is that if you have the capacity to reach the first line, don't delay it. Don't give it up. Go there, get it yourself. And that's al-tama' bima 'indillah. It's a principle that the ulama talk about, that we should be greedy with Allah. We're greedy about, if it's free, what is it, buffet, or you can eat buffet. You get greedy all of a sudden, things you never thought about eating. Don't worry, get into it, we'll tear into it. Alright? But the things we should be greedy about are the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has. In other words, the unseen gifts that Allah Azza wa Jal gives to the servants that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves. Alright, so that's being greedy. If the first row is open to you, take it. Look, if someone is a scholar, they come or whatever, Imam, let them in for sure. Someone's older than you, for sure. But other than that, try and get there. Try and get the benefit of being in the first saf. And that's what he said. He said, عليه الصلاة والسلام, قد قال عليه الصلاة والسلام, لا يزال القوم يتأخرون أي عن الصف الأول حتى يؤخرهم الله أي عن فضله ورحمته. Alright, so that's the hadith of the Prophet of Allah when he says it specifically, that when a person is delaying and there's sort of a laziness, or it's not so much that, but there's a lack of intensity in that sense, a lack of drive or enthusiasm to be in the first row, then Allah Azza wa Jalla ought to be at the beginning. That means not the first row just in the prayer, but those who first want to put to give fi sabilillah, those are the first ones who volunteer to do something good, the first ones to clean up the masjid, the first ones to do any khayr, basically any good, anything that a person will get reward for. So that's the general meaning of the hadith, but specifically the first row. Because that shows a commitment as well. How committed a person is. Getting to the first row, every prayer, it's not an easy thing. Especially in a big masjid. And the old blokes, they're not going to let you in easy. Because they know the value of it. They grew up on that. And they've been praying in the first row for years and years and years and years.
If you got told off that Turkish.
Yeah, Turkish, you got to watch out because they got their spots.
Twice.
Were you there before everyone though?
Twice on the same day they told
Were
me.
you there before everyone?
Yeah, it was quite empty.
And what, where were you, right behind the Imam?
No, it's different circumstance. I was at the back actually, and then this old man, he's like, "Move!" Like just yelling like real loud. I was just about to say Allahu Akbar. I was like, "What's wrong?" He's like, "Move to the front."
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
No, but he was saying that because he didn't want to walk in front of me. He wanted.
Okay. That's different. No, we're saying that sometimes if you're not that knowledgeable and you haven't got that much Qur'an, then it's better not to go right behind the Imam. Go to the right or the left and leave that space. Generally, that's how it is in the masjid. Here in Australia, there's not much anything. It's all sure be right, mate. Do whatever you want, mate. But in the proper masjid, normally people don't sit right behind the Imam because they leave that for the other reciters in case, like we said, he makes a mistake, he loses his wudu, he can't remember the Qur'an, the verse or whatever. Something happens and someone who's knowledgeable as well will correct the Imam. So, and it doesn't happen very much. And not only that, the mu'adhin, normally there's a space left for the mu'adhin right next to behind the Imam. I don't think it's a small deal to be the Imam. I think we talked about it was another class. The Imam al-Adil, the Imam Adil is under the arsh of Allah firstly, but that Imam, his body doesn't rot in the ground, nor do the mu'adhin 12 years in the masjid, who doesn't take any money, the worms and the bugs and the creatures, whatever, won't eat that person's body. In Tareem, it's real. In Tareem, where we studied, they're all marked. Those people's graves are marked, so they don't dig them up. Everyone else's body will decay and deteriorate. Those ones, they don't dig them up. The grave people who work the graveyard, what are they called? The graveyard keeper or whatever. He knows. He knows where the markings are, and then he passes it on to the new people that come along. That's it. They don't touch these people's graves. And it's not something that's just magic. Someone was telling me a story the other day, same thing. This ISIS mob, they were going to blow up someone's grave, and then the Turkish government came, took him out. I think he's the father of Uthman. I think his name is Suleiman. I'm not sure, but anyway, the father of Uthman, who they all come from, the Uthmaniyin, the Ottomans. He was buried on the north of Syria, not far from Turkey. They came, they took his whole body. I don't think the Turks are easy, man. The Turks are heavy duty. As we said, they tried to steal the Prophet's body, and they're the ones who dug down and put the lead all around. We told you that story, did we not?
Yeah.
They're pretty heavy duty, these guys. They're pretty serious. Alright? Even now, in the refugee thing, other than Lebanon taking the most, the Turks have spent like $5.5 billion on like nearly 2 million refugees. Not that I support anyone politically or otherwise. I'm just saying that these guys, they stuck to what they believe in. And that's you've got to respect whoever it may be. That's got to be given respect. Okay, then, if they keep being late and delayed, Allah will make them delayed. In other words, they'll lose the capacity to be in the first row, meaning, عَنْ فَضْلِهِ وَرَحْمَتِهِ. They'll lose the favour and the mercy of Allah. It's not in the book, but that's what it is in Arabic. That's why we use the original text, so that nothing gets lost, inshallah. Always say it's going to get lost in translation, but so we get the crux of what the Imam is saying. Fadlihi, the favour of Allah. Allah's favoured the you're first in line at whatever, the yoga joint, what's it called? The yoga place where you line up for yoga.
Organic.
Okay, you first one in organic. Beautiful. And in summer when it's coming out of the beach, love it. Right? First one at wherever, lining up for coffee, first one, you love it. It's a favour, you're being favoured. So what about in the first one in the house of Allah Azza wa Jal? As a guest, when Allah's called the people to come, that person's the first one. Well, of course it's a favour. Ar-Rahman, that's what Allah sends to the message. قال عليه الصلاة والسلام إن الله وملائكته يصلون على الصف المقدم وكان صلوات الله عليه وسلامه يستغفر لأهل الصف الأول ثلاثا وللثاني مرة.
Yeah. And he used to ask forgiveness for those in the first rows and for those in the second row once only.
Oh, isn't it there?
It's one.
وقال عليه الصلاة والسلام إن الله وملائكته يصلون على الصف المقدم. It's not in there.
It is.
Yeah. And God and His angels bless the performance.
He read that.
Oh, I read that bit.
I'll read it again, please.
No.
And the Prophet said or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And God and His angels bless the foremost row.
Okay,
And he used to ask forgiveness for those in the first rows thrice, and for those in the second row once only.
Alright? So yusalluna, we said the salat of Allah to the people is what? When Allah sends salat on the people, what is it? It's rahmah or maghfirah.
Yeah.
It's forgiveness. What about when the angels do it? It's from Allah rahmah, from the angels, maghfirah or istighfar. Okay, and from the people, it's dua. Okay, that's the salawat. When we say Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, we're making dua, saying Allah have mercy, have rahmah, maghfirah. We're making dua for the Prophet of Allah. When Allah says Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna, for example, ala nabi, in this case, ala saf al-awwal, yani Allah sends rahmah, the angels seek istighfar. They seek forgiveness for those people in the first row. Yeah? And when it says as-saf al-muqaddam, the foremost row. وكان صلوات الله عليه وسلم يستغفر لأهل الصف الأول ثلاثا وللثاني مرة. And as we said previously, that the Prophet of Allah ﷺ, he used to seek forgiveness for the people in the first row 3 times. They worked harder. They made more sacrifice, more commitment, and 1 to the second row. وعليك برص الصفوف وتسويتها.
Assist in making the rows even and straight.
That's it. Thanks, man. Okay. So why? What's the impetus behind making the lines even and straight? So he says, فإن كنت إماما كان الأمر منك بذلك آكد. وهذا أمر مهم في الشرع وأكثر الناس غافلون عنه وقد كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وسلم صلى على رسول الله يحرص على ذلك ويتولى فعله بنفسه ويقول لتسون صفوفكم أو ليخالفن الله بين قلوبكم.
Is it? Sure. Do they say, like, because I asked my uncle once, like, why do they get so close and sometimes their toes touch? And he said, so Shaitan doesn't get in
I'll
between.
read it and you'll see. The answer's right in front of you.
If you are the Imam and then this becomes doubly incumbent upon you. This is an important thing in the law, but most people are unaware of it. The Messenger of God, may blessings be upon him, was very concerned with this matter and used to do it himself and say, you will straighten your rows or God will certainly cause disagreement to come between your hearts.
Alright? So that's the imperative. That's how important it is. That's how important it is. And again, it's the manifest. Look at prayers. Look in the general, in the congregational prayers. Firstly, following the Imam, it's istislam. That's what we all want. And then, what's the other part of it? The hearts will be separated. If you can't get istislam, of course, that's what's going on now. Hey, Habibi, what's this? What do you call it? Mazhab. What's this? Follow Imam. You don't need to do that. Just Qur'an and Sunnah, read it. And what are you talking about? What are you on about? What Qur'an? What Sunnah? The Sunnah is to follow the Imam. That's the Sunnah. Alright, what are you on about? I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. Bid'ah, that's bid'ah. Bid'ah to make up your own thing. That's what bid'ah is. But isn't it what it is? Make up your own thing? Isn't that what it is? In fact, I'm going to just read the Qur'an and make it up. That's bid'ah. I'm going to read the hadith and make it up. That's bid'ah in itself. The ahl bid'ah wa na'udhu billah. That's Allah. So, what's he saying? Look, two things that, as we said, the secret to the deen is in the prayer. That's the secret. And the secret to the secret is in the jama'ah. The ulama say that the secret of the whole secret is praying in congregation for a man in particular, for a male brother in particular. Alright? So what does he say? He says it's such an imperative. This is doubly important. The better word, it's an imperative if you're the Imam. It's your responsibility as the Imam to make sure the lines are straight. Right? He says, وَهَذَا أَمْرٌ مُهُمٌّ فِي الشَّرْعِ. He says it's an extremely important matter in regards to the Sharia, to the law. He says, and most of the people, they're neglectful. They're neglectful of the lines. And you see how many to you, his sisters maybe don't know as much as that. It's like a fight to get the guy. I mean, just line up. It's like being in kindergarten or year one or what, like maybe the Arabs and I've never heard of a line before. I don't know what the story is, but it's not that hard to line up. Most of the masjids have a line, either you put your heels on it or you put your toes on it. It's not that hard. No. Bloke got saying in his mind, Yahi, take it easy. That's what the Imam's saying. They're neglectful of it. Don't worry about it. He says, وَقَدْ كَانَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ يَحْرُصُ عَلَى ذَلِكَ وَيَتَوَلَّى فِعْلُهُ بِنَا. He was haris. In other words, he was very concerned. It's even more than concerned. Haris, he was vigilant. He was vigilant. The Prophet ﷺ, and he used to even do it by, he used to go and look in the lines, make sure all the lines are together before he started the prayer. Okay? And what did he say? This is the kicker. He said that if you are either to make your lines straight and taswiyat as-sufuf, not straight, together, in other words, everyone's together and they're straight, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to create discord between your hearts. What is it in English? What does it say in English?
Disagreement.
Okay, it's more than disagreement. Khilaf is more than disagreement, it's discord. Okay? In other words, they can't get along in any facet. Habibi, is that what we're living today?
Yeah.
It is. So don't worry about jart and jurt and this and that and up and down. Just get your lines straight. Isn't that the first? I'm not saying don't have the conference of so-and-so. Do it. But get the lines straight. That's the prophetic tradition. Do whatever you have to do. But start there. If you don't do this, don't worry about everything else. That's the prophetic tradition. That's the secret of it. The manifestation of it has in other words, doing it outwardly has an internal effect, has a spiritual effect, and that's what the deen's about. That's what our existence on this earth is. It's spiritual. The physical is a manifestation of the spiritual. Or you can say vice versa. The spiritual, the physical is the same thing, isn't it? Physical is a manifestation of the spiritual. And until we understand that reality, like we said, pack it up, go home. So we're not going to go forward. Doesn't matter what we try and do, because that's the sunnah. That's the only acceptable way to Allah Azza wa Jal. You want to do more than that? I'm with you. You want to do more than that? Good on you. You want to do more than that? Thumbs up. Right? But you don't want to do that, you want to do everything else. Sorry. We went to a conference the other day. They go, what's the biggest problem at the moment? There's a whole ulama or whatever. They go, is the problem too much Islamophobia, or the problem the Muslims' understanding of the deen, or something like that? What was it? Oh, radicalization, right? Or Islamophobia? Let's ask the class. What's the biggest problem we face? Islamophobia, in other words, everyone's on our case. Radicalization, in other words, we're going militant. Who reckons Islamophobia? In other words, everyone's on our case everywhere we go. What about, what is that one? Radicalization.
Can you choose neither?
Oh, come on. It's a choice of two. It's A or B. It's multiple choice. No essay is here.
None of the above.
No, there's no third option. Come on, it's just for example.
Radicalization.
Wait. Radicalization, put your hand up. Islamophobia, put your hand up. Allah I'm proud of you, because I was the only one that said that. Everyone else is not. Habibi, it is a problem, Islamophobia. That's not my problem.
Their problem.
Exactly or not?
Our problem to educate.
Right? Radicalization is my problem. In other words, and I'll look at it different, not understanding the deen. That's what radicalization is, not understanding the deen, or not wanting to understand the deen. Look there, the world's going to turn. It's all right, they're going to hate and take away our visas and our citizens. It's going to happen. I can't. I mean, we're supposed to work to change that. Don't get me wrong. We are. Okay, we're not supposed to just be at the mercy of whoever. Don't get me wrong. At the moment, though, unless we understand what we want, we don't even know what we want. We go to the conferences and whatever, we're like, what do you want? Well, no. All right, we're just in conflict with each other. Why should they listen to us? I wouldn't. I'd say, good one, fellas. Yeah.
Sort yourselves.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so if we don't do the basic stuff, if we don't understand the stuff in our deen, everything else is wasted. Going to the moon, having nuclear weapons, having a Star Wars program, getting to the bottom of the ocean and whatever, it's all good. But it needs the sunnah first. Have those things, have the sunnah and do those things, I'm with you. Nuclear fission and fusion and whatever else, great if you've got those things. If you're not entering into the house with your right, exiting with your left, as we said before, and then you try and do those things, sorry. Maqtu'a. That action or that intention is maqtu'a. It's short. There's a better word for it. Deficient. It's deficient. Allah's not gonna accept it. And yeah, it might look like on the outside, and that's what we've got a lot of. On the outside, it looks like we're swimming upstream, but the reality, most of the time, it's not there. It's not there. So here we go again. What did they say? The sirr of the deen is in Salat al-Jama'ah. The ulama, they talk about it. One thing they say. One thing. Pray Salat al-Jama'ah. That's for the brothers in particular. The sisters, in your homes, the best place to pray. If you go to the masjid, sunnah to go on Eid to the masjid. That's the best time to go for the sisters. The best time to go. And the facilities are terrible here where they put you in a stanky room. It's hard to get to. How about the one in the city? You have to walk past the brothers to go to the side. That's just defeating the purpose, isn't it? To walk right through the middle where the brothers are praying to go to the room. Oh, it doesn't make any sense. Either have it properly or don't worry about it. All right? So in a lot of the Muslim countries, I've never actually gone to any that have a place for women to pray, or it's only for the men. Turkey? No, even when we went there wasn't a place for the women.
Well, like at the Aqsa.
The bigger mosque? Aqsa there is, the place for women.
In Tripoli, all of them do.
Big mosque doesn't have it, Tainel doesn't have it, none of those places have it.
The one that done with Faras. with a
Oh,
shout.
that's a new one, yeah.
Well, but me know the new one.
Yeah, the new ones they do.
In the day after the minyan.
Yeah, as if, bro.
You know me.
Alright, so
In all the older mosques, they use
the
that.
best thing to do for the sisters is to set up a place in a room, if not your own room, where that's it. Only thing that goes on there is prayers. Only thing that goes on there is ibadah. And even your prayer mat and the Shafi'iyah, you can make it a waqf if you want. So that means that musalla, it's only used, you can intend it to be a waqf, the prayer mat, yeah? Yep. You can make it a waqf, which means you can make it, that's it. This is only to be used for prayers. And then the level of your prayers will be elevated because you're doing it, that thing is only for Allah. So that means you can't just sit on it, just to sit on it. Someone comes over, you can't get him to sit on it. It's only for worship, that prayer mat. You just make the intention, Ya Allah, this prayer mat, it's only for worship. So that means doing the dhikr, reciting the Qur'an, making dua, reflecting on Allah Azza wa Jal, self-reflection, praying, of course, you can do there. But other stuff, you shouldn't be sitting on. If you're having a conversation on your phone, Facebooking, whatever, then you shouldn't be sitting there. And what did he say? So, just from, he said, I think it goes on another time. No, it doesn't. I'll tell you in a second. ويأمر بالصد, there it is. ويأمر بصد الفرج ويقول والذي نفسي بيده إني لأرى الشيطان يدخل في خلل الصف كأنه الخبث يعني الغنم الصغار.
He ordered them to close the gaps by saying, by the one in whose hand is my soul. I see the devil penetrating from gaps in the road, just as a small lamb might do.
Just as a small lamb might do.
Just as a small lamb might do.
Alright, so that's the reason why, because he wants to create enmity and discord between the hearts of the believers. So imagine if he does that again. Go back to the manifestation. If he does that in the most intense time, the time when the hearts should most be together, then it's easy at the other times. It's easy. We're all standing behind one Imam, all saying, Allahu Akbar. Watch the Jews how they worship. Everyone's doing their own thing, the wailing wall and all that. Go watch the Christians. They're all doing their own thing as well. I can't remember what the Buddhists do. They're doing their own thing or whatever. Anyway, we are all one. It's scary. Of course people should be scared of us. Of course, everyone up, down together, up, down, Allahu Akbar, up, Allahu Akbar. It's muhib. It's awesome. It's awesome. So at that time, when we're most supposed to be together, the shaitan comes in and he plays his games. So don't forget, the Prophet's talking to agricultural people. So use the example of the sheep. Today we might say like a cat goes between you or whatever, something else, and a different example. Okay? So that's what the shaitan does. He comes in, whispers and this and makes trouble. So the men should be at least shoulder to shoulder. That's the minimum, and then the feet comes after that. These guys, they spread their feet like that on the shoulder. That's not the right thing to do. It's the feet should be in a comfortable position and the shoulders should be tight. Because I've got my own space, bro, don't come in my space, people. We find it hard. We find it hard. If someone touching us like the whole time is doing this.
Especially face.
Yeah, look, it's a bit, you're not supposed to. You're supposed to be wearing nice, two different Quranic injunctions. Take your best clothes. Take the zina, your best thing when you go to the masjid. And tahtahir, keep your clothes pure and clean. If you're a male, you should wear nice, not $2 perfume that smells like turpentine, but nice perfume. The ulama said you can spend up to a third of your wealth on nice perfume. Nice clothes shouldn't be smelling of barbecue or onions or BO or curry or body odor or feet odor or whatever. That's a sunnah because it puts people off. It's happened to every one of us. The angels don't like bad odors. So if there's bad odors, the angels won't come. If the angels aren't there, who's going to be there? Those guys, mate. All right. So they're the basic aspects. They're the basic aspects of praying in Jama'ah. So inshallah, any questions about any of that? We'll continue with next week about the what the Imam's talking about with regards to praying in Jama'ah. It's quite a long chapter because it's a very important aspect of our faith. It's a very, very important aspect of our faith, and as the ulama said, it's sirruddin. If we can't dedicate a few hours of our week to pray in the house of Allah Azza wa Jal, we've really got to ask ourselves, what's our commitment to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We've really got to ask ourselves, what's the reality of my faith? No.
Just about women praying in the mosque, is the reward, even though it's best for them to be praying at home, is the reward equal for them to be praying in the mosque?
The men, the reward is, the hadith says, in the most foremost lines, and the women in the most rear lines. So it's sunnah, it's okay, it's sunnah for women to pray in the masjid. Why? Because the Prophet let the women pray in the masjid. So it's not saying that it shouldn't be done. He let them, alayhi salatu wasalam. So if the Prophet aqarra, in other words, if he acquiesces to a deal or something that's done, an action, then it's sunnah. Khalas, it's sunnah. That doesn't mean that you can't. The thing is that it's not incumbent, particularly on Jummah. Women don't have to go to the masjid. They pray duha normally. If they do attend Jummah, they pray too. That's it. So the lattermost lines are where the most reward is. Just like for the men, the foremost lines are the most reward. So that's how it goes for women. And to pray in their home with that intention, the reward's the same.
But do they get the same as men if they do pray in the masjid? Or do they get the same as men if they pray in the
Prophet of Allah, one of the Hafsa, she came and she asked him, Rasulullah, and how can we beat the men? They go to janazah, they go fi sabilillah, they pray in the masjid, all these things, and then he gave them a different set of things they have to do. So if she prays her 5 times prayer, fasts on Ramadan, prays her husband, that's it. And she can enter Jannah from whichever door she desires. So there's no like direct correlation about that. So I don't know if it would be or if it wouldn't be. I can't say. The only thing I can say is that women are treated as women and men are treated as men. They're both equal yet different. And that makes it easier for men to live, that makes it easier for women to live. Now there's the crisis that women don't know what they're supposed to be doing, and men don't know what they're supposed to be doing. We've lost it, they've lost it, not as Imam, we've lost control of the situation. So would it be the same? I don't know. The hadith says whoever prays in the masjid gets 25 or 26 or 27 times the reward. So I don't see why it would be any different from male or female. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't heard any of the scholars talking about it, but it seems like they would get that reward. But same thing if they were to pray in their home with the intention of hishmah. But it's a bit different in Australia because, like in some countries, in Yemen, ladies don't go anywhere unless they're with their husbands. That's it. And they got this thing called a house, which is like a backyard. It's got a very high wall. And that's it, no one looks in, they spend their time there with their kids. Big, it's not small, it's like a big backyard. And they don't go, there's a souk on this set, there's the souk just for ladies, and there's no law, it's just the culture and the custom of the place. So there, no doubt, unless she goes out, the more rewarded she's with. There's no question. But in Australia, she's going out to do shopping, she's going out to pick up the kids, she's going out to the doctor, she works, she does all these things. So it's a different scenario, it's a totally different situation. So if she's already going out to work, then why wouldn't she go to the masjid? You know what I mean? In that case, there's no reason, as long as the facilities were right. But if she's going to have to walk through the men to go to it's a fitna. It causes doubts to occur. So better that she doesn't go. But that's something for the scholars to determine in Australia. I mean, that's one of the things that we really need is the scholars to say, look, that's fine for Britain. That's fine for Pakistan, that's fine for wherever. But Australia, and specifically Sydney, this is what should happen. And until we get that kind of scholarly guidance, then it's just all conjecture, really. And unfortunately, that's where we're at in a lot of situations. And that ends up, detrimenting the believers, detrimenting our iman. So that's why if we concentrate on those things that are sunnah, and that are active, they're confirmed, then that's going to keep our iman strong. And then whatever they come up with, we'll say, yeah, fine, that's, we're ready. Sami'na wa ata'na, istislam, whatever it comes up with. It doesn't have to be this. And doesn't mean that we shouldn't question it. The thing is, to follow the imam, as we said, as we heard, it's following Allah Azza wa Jalla. That's their job to make the rulings. It's not our job to make the rulings. It's our job to follow what the rulings are. So, like I said, there's heaps of secrets. Being in the masjid is heaps of secrets. Going to the masjid and the intention of i'tikaf, even if it's only for a second, that type of thing. When you're waiting from the adhan, from the time of adhan, Imam talked about it a few chapters ago, from the time of the adhan to the time of the iqamah, whatever dua you make is accepted, 100% accepted. Whatever dua you make after the prayer is accepted. The salawat on the Prophet of Allah, shaking the hands of the Muslims, when they shake their hands, their sins are forgiven. When they're all these things, the people who meet for the sake of Allah in this life, they'll meet for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. They'll be on manabir al-nur, they'll be on members, pulpits of light in the hereafter. And the shuhada and the anbiya, they'll look at them and they'll say, oof, who are these guys? Heavy duty, what did you guys do? And they're prophets. They'll say, oh, we just met for the sake of Allah, we left for the sake of Allah. That can happen in the masjid because everyone's going to pray in the masjid. So there's all these benefits. You're less likely to be affected by the dunya when you're inside the masjid. All the rules of what you can and can't say in the masjid. So it changes a person's state. And the rahmat actually come to the Kaaba and are distributed to all the masajid throughout the world. And from there the Muslimin take them home on their shoulders. So the more a person's in a positive environment, the more a person's going to be positive. So there's all those asrar, all those secrets that go along with it. And that's why, as a Muslim, particularly a male, that we should be striving as much as possible to play at least Fajr and Isha, depending on our work schedules, in the masajid. And if we can do more than that, really we can. Any other questions about any of those things? Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala khayril anbiya'i wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. ويسلمون الحياة وبعد ما لا تفضل أقدار على الصراط المستقيم يا أرحم الراحمين أسألك أن تطول الليلة وأن ترفع درجاتنا في الحياة وبعد الممات أسألك يا أرحم الراحمين أن تغفر لنا ذنوبنا وسيئاتنا وأسرافنا في أمرنا وأن تنصرنا على القوم الكافرين. Ya Allah, we ask you to forgive us and forgive our sins and our misgivings and misguidings. We ask you to alleviate the difficulties of the Ummah of the Prophet of Allah. Ya Allah, we ask you to protect all those people that have fled their homes, Ya Allah, looking for safety and security outside of the country or outside of their homes. Ya Allah, we ask you to soften the hearts of those who receive them, Ya Allah, and soften the minds and attitudes towards them, Ya Allah, so they treat them like human beings and people. Ya Allah, we ask you to change our hearts, Ya Allah, so that we can hear and obey, Ya Arhamar Rahim, that which is beneficial for us in this life and the next. Ya Allah, we ask you to make us of those people who follow the way of the Prophet of Allah and embody the way of the Prophet of Allah to the utmost of their capacity. Ya Allah, we ask you to bless this makan, bless this place, Ya Arhamar Rahim, and bless those who are responsible over it, Ya Allah. We ask you, Ya Arhamar Rahim, to increase us in the beneficial knowledge, increase us in our enthusiasm and our love to go to your house, Ya Allah, to worship you, Ya Arhamar Rahim, in congregation with other Muslims, Ya Arhamar Rahim. We ask you to alleviate the enmity and the discord between our hearts, Ya Allah. We ask you to bring us together on La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. We ask you, Ya Arhamar Rahim, to make that the last word that people will pronounce from this earth. Ya Allah, we ask you to raise the states of our Mashiach, Ya Allah, so they may fight the evil that's in this world, Ya Allah. They may turn the evil into good by your help, Ya Arhamar Rahim. خير ولطف وعافية ولا حضرة النبي بالسر الفاتحة.